Good afternoon, you're welcome along to World Cup Daily, and World Cup 2018 has gone from a pretty poor World Cup to an average World Cup to a very good World Cup to an absolutely amazing World Cup. More poetry, more top performances from some of the world's best players of all time. Again last night, Argentina go through. Can Germany and can Brazil join them this afternoon when it's all going to be revealed over the next 4 or 5 hours or so? John Duggan and Leon Blanche and Raf Giallo will be joining us later on. For the time being, Phil Egan, as always, is back in studio. How are things?
Yeah, I've still got World Cup fever.
Still got World Cup fever?
Yeah, they tried to dent it there yesterday, France and Denmark.
They tried to give you a bit of medicine.
They did. I actually had to go out and get fresh air afterwards because it was that dull. I was like, oh, I need to wake up. But my God, did Argentina wake me up last night. Marcus Rojo, who knew he could do that?
Well, I don't think even Marcus Rojo knew he could do that.
I don't think the commentators could even believe it.
No, not quite. It was... like he spoke afterwards about this team talk that Lionel Messi gave at half-time, and he said, you've all got to have belief. If you get an opportunity to shoot, just shoot it. And I'm starting to think, why is Marcus Rojo crediting this talk for him shooting from that position? You're in the box, you've got to volley that. You've got to have a pop.
I didn't even know his right foot worked.
Neither did I.
You know, he likes to take a shot. We see him for Manchester United when he moves forward. He fancies himself for a 30-yard shot, but they don't tend to work. But it was just, it was the ball in, and we haven't even talked about Messi's goal. It looks even better in slow motion. Is it
the best goal of the tournament? Is it the best goal of the night, first of all? Is it definitely better than Marcus Rojo's?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Next step, is it the best goal of the tournament?
Oh, it's definitely in the conversation. It has to be. It looks even better, as I said, in slow motion. The ball from Banega, who knew he could actually play football. He should have been in the team.
Clearly, he's Paoli didn't know he could play football.
But he's not the manager anymore, is he?
No, he's not. He's just a lame duck, isn't he?
Yeah, he didn't even hang around for the celebrations afterwards. But it was a great ball. It's the touch and the thigh. Then he doesn't even let the ball bounce. He just takes another touch, and then he backs himself to score with his right foot. And you know, people always say, "Oh, that left foot of Messi's is just a magic wand," but it wasn't a bad strike with the right foot. Probably my favourite goal. Maybe it is just bias because it's Messi, but just given what was on the line, we wondered, was Messi going to turn up? But he was really sharp in that first half, and that it is one of the goals of the tournament, without a doubt.
He had a pretty good night. Oh, there's a fantastic picture actually of Lionel Messi in a blur as he darts around the pitch. He's lost a yard of pace, but he hasn't lost the yard of pace to actually trick photographers into taking beautiful photos like that. There he is celebrating his goal. Another man who was celebrating wildly last night was the other number 10, Diego. The Diego of the Maradona variety, who's been quite a feature of this World Cup. This is his reaction to Lionel Messi's goal last night, and naturally the Photoshop brigade got their hands on this photo pretty quickly. There he is on a roller coaster.
Roller coaster of a night for him, in fairness.
Yeah. And there we go. He's replaced the Freddie Mercury and the Queen album there. It was quite the interesting graph watching Diego Maradona last night, and this talk about him almost dying and him getting in touch with an Argentine journalist to say he drank so much white wine that his neck began to hurt. That you begin to wonder, why is he so prominent around this World Cup? Because I think we all have a similar opinion of him off the pitch, and we see these scenes at full time, him with the two middle fingers up to God knows who.
Must have thought it was still 1-1.
Well, yeah, maybe. I think it was to Gonzalo Higuain after missing that opportunity, to be honest.
God, we haven't even talked about him.
And let's not talk about him.
How dreadful is he?
Let's not ruin the moment here talking about greats like Maradona and Messi by talking about Gonzalo Higuain. But Maradona, the reason why he's been given so much publicity around this World Cup is because he's literally part of the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, he's an ambassador. Not only is he is getting paid a truckload of cash to be there. 10 grand a day. By the way, that doesn't even include expenses. And I would say if he was talking about how much white wine he drank, his expense bill would be quite high. He almost treated it like a wedding. You know, an Irish wedding where you get a lot of white wine, and, you know, sometimes the day can catch up on you. He was asked to leave at half-time.
By his own...
They suggested, do you know what, maybe you should leave at half-time if you're not feeling well. No moving him, though.
No, not at all. And you know what, maybe that'll go down in the annals of great footballing moments, including his own that he's seen. Maybe he'll be like, that Marcus Rojo goal was amazing. If he remembers it or not, it's a different story. The fans in Buenos Aires last night, they were pretty celebratory. Have a look at this. That's amazing. I think every one of these fan videos we see.
No pints thrown up there.
No pints thrown up, first of all. So
very well behaved.
Very well behaved. They beat England in that regard. But I think we've certainly been very introspective when it comes to these tournaments, and Ireland are there saying, "Oh, we're the best fans in the world. Look at these amazing scenes from this incredible volume of Ireland fans." And then now we're just seeing the exact same videos, but with just Argentinian people and Peruvian people and other fans.
They make it sexier as well. They have a different noise of how they celebrate goals, and they seem to, the noise, it keeps going for a lot longer. Whereas we're more, you let the roar out, you jump around, and that's it. It
is, yeah. We kind of like to box off our celebrations over a 2-minute period or whatever, and the Argentines they just keep going for a lot longer.
Yeah, but it's like their their commentaries. The goal goes on for nearly a minute, so it's something they put a lot of thought into.
They must do. It's a very choreographed sort of method to celebrating. Let's get John Duggan's take on celebrating. Let's go to Moscow. Good afternoon, John Duganovsky.
Owen and Phil, how are you doing?
Oh, I see that the Soviet Union jersey has been replaced. They've got to you, the Spurs fans, and replaced it with a Tottenham jersey. What's going on?
It is Harry Kane Eve, folks. It's King Harry's Eve, so we need to obviously toast that in the appropriate manner in the shrine that I'm building now, slowly but surely, day by day, to football in my hotel room.
I thought it was Son, maybe Young Min Son. You were honouring him playing it today.
I could probably change it, put a marker on the back and change it per day. But no, despite his brilliance the other day in terms of that goal, I'm all for Harry tomorrow. So we're having a bit of crack here.
We were talking about Argentina there. Phil was making a point. What was the John Duggan stat you had on Argentina?
Well, John has gone to see Argentina twice and they didn't produce the goods, and he stayed away last night and they win.
That's a good sign right there.
I'm not going to Kazan either. I was looking into the options about going to Kazan. The trains are booked. It's about €500 for a flight. I'd love to be there, wouldn't everybody? But no, I think I'll be watching that on television. But yeah, Brazil tonight. Looking forward to Brazil against Serbia. That'll be a cracker.
So you're telling us to put massive money on Argentina to beat France. That's what I'm taking from that, John.
No. I kind of missed the goal of straw yesterday, so I'll have to think of a bet now. I knew Marco Reus would score the other night. Didn't do that one either, so I have to just recalibrate my betting options and have to think of when I'm going to have a cracker, because I'll have watched enough football by the next week or so that I'll be able to make some good calls.
Speaking of 0-0 draws, you were there. The first 0-0 draw of the tournament, it was an absolute shocker. Could you stay awake during it?
I don't even want to think about it. It was brutal, and it's just a shame to say that you went to a World Cup game, the Luzhniki Stadium with 78,011 fans, and you're the 11th fan. And you're watching that, and it just wasn't a game to grace the tournament, unfortunately. And that's the way sometimes the results go in the group. But I think there's a lesson in it for England, not to do what France did yesterday. What did France and Didier Deschamps learn from that? Nothing. What is Thomas Lemar and Ousmane Dembele? What are they going to do in terms of getting into the team for Saturday? I can't see it. The only person who really impressed me was Mbappe when he only played for 12 minutes. Griezmann and Giroud didn't seem to have any kind of fluidity in terms of the link-up play. And France, if they had beaten their previous opponents 5-0 and 3-0, you maybe say, okay, try out new players. But they didn't come into the game with a huge degree of brilliance or fireworks in terms of the way they played previously. They got the job done against Australia and Peru, and that would concern me a little bit going into the Argentina game. They should have enough quality in terms of their players to win, but it was very uninspiring stuff. No tempo to the game. Denmark, they needed to get the result, to be fair to them. They played Christensen in front of the back four, which I thought was interesting, and they might repeat that against Croatia. We know what they are, obviously intimately from the Republic of Ireland's games, but once again, they lack a target man. Cornelius came in yesterday. Eriksen's the key man. But I think they could frustrate Croatia. I think that game could go a long way in terms of extra time. It's one of those types of matchups in the World Cup that you get.
Am I sensing an upset there from you, John, that Denmark could beat Croatia?
I'm not sensing an upset. I'm just saying that they're very, very well set up. I mean, there was one point in the second half yesterday when France were trying to attack and they were just 10 men behind the ball, and they really kept their shape well, I thought, Denmark. And they're just a difficult team to beat. Once Harada kind of sorted out things in qualifying, I mean, they thumped Poland 4-0, not that I was saying much given the way Poland played the World Cup. But I think they're a tricky team. I don't think people are expecting Croatia, just because they've won 3 matches, to saunter into a quarter-final. I can't see that happening. I can see a difficult day for them. I can see Croatia prevailing ultimately, but I wouldn't be surprised if Denmark upset them.
Yeah, actually watching that game yesterday, it didn't surprise me the way Denmark played. Having been in Copenhagen for the first leg of our playoff, it was as bad as that. The only thing was, in Copenhagen that night, it was absolutely Baltic. Just looking at France, though, he's obviously going to make some changes. You know, everyone's saying, oh, they're not playing well, but they can catch fire. I think back to the Euros, okay, they didn't win it, but they had that performance against Germany. We know they have the potential. You know, Didier Deschamps could argue that they haven't even played well. They've topped their group, job done. You know, you don't get medals for topping your group or getting out of the group. You know, we're starting to get into the business end, and maybe a game against Argentina is just what they need.
Yeah, clearly, and they clearly have the players. They clearly have the players like Mbappe, like Pogba, like N'Golo Kante acting as that fulcrum between defence and attack. They clearly have the players. They have Varane, have Lloris back in goal. It's whether they can just turn on the tap straight away, and that's and will he be because as I said this yesterday, they've underachieved. They didn't win that final against Portugal. They got beaten by Germany when Deschamps was managing in the World Cup at the quarter-final stage, comfortably beaten in Rio. And in qualifying, they shouldn't have lost, but they lost to Sweden. I think they only scored 18 goals. I mean, if there's one player I'm looking to catch fire, it's Mbappe. I mean, he's the player I'm really excited about in terms of France. Argentina, we know, who knows what changes are going to be made. I think Messi's is picking the team. I think if there's one player that I'd look at sacrificing as a layman or herder on the ditch, it's Javier Mascherano. I think he's gone. He's absolutely gone. And I don't think what is Javier Mascherano adding to the midfield of Argentina right now.
Yeah, he was awful last night.
I don't see what he's adding to the midfield. And like Banega wasn't good enough to play the second game, but played last night. Obviously, I think Aguero should be in the team. He seems to have fallen out with Sampaoli and talk that he approached the Argentinian FA about making changes. He's Messi's best mate. Messi's handshake or non-handshake with Sampaoli is very revealing. So it's almost like, despite everything, they're willing themselves and they willed themselves into the last 16, but against a French team. If France can turn on the tap, maybe they can. If they can turn on the tap, then happy days for France because they'll win the match.
Yeah, they seem to have a much higher ceiling from where they've come from in the group stages anyway. I think there's no question about that, John. We will talk about today's games, but to take us there, here's Tim Vickery. He was on the show with Joe last night, and he's not impressed with Neymar's attitude.
I'm glad you're calling him out. Is anyone in Brazil making the point on national television that this guy has been indulged and spoilt beyond all reason? This is a thing. People are recognising even the tears at the end of the last game.
Yeah. And the article it starts with an incident 8 years ago when he was already a big star. A lot of people in Brazil thought he should have gone to the 2010 World Cup. He was 18 at the time, and it was shortly afterwards his team Santos were playing, and he'd missed a few penalties. And the Santos coach, they got a penalty, and the Santos coach stopped him taking it. He said, "No, I don't want you." And the toys all came out. It all came out, and the game couldn't go ahead. The tantrum was so huge. The rival coach, a fellow called René Simoes, he took Jamaica to the World Cup in 1998. He had this famous phrase, which is being re-brought into the consciousness over the last few days: "We're creating a monster." You know, I've never seen anything like this on the football field before, and if we don't educate him, we're creating a monster. But the sting in the tail of that particular story is that the Santos coach, Dorival Jr., because of Neymar's antics, when he refused to allow the game to restart because he couldn't take his penalty, Dorival Jr. gave Neymar a 2-week suspension. In that 2 weeks, Santos had a game coming up against their historical rivals, Corinthians, and the Santos president, he decided that he'd rather have Neymar than the coach. Yeah. So he sacked the coach and brought Neymar back. And that's an example of how he was indulged 8 years ago. And it leads where I'm sure you're aware that it has led, Mr. Malloy.
Yeah, that was Tim Vickery speaking about Neymar to Joe Malloy on News Talks Off the Ball last night. Leon Blanche joins us in the studio. How are things?
Very well, Eoin.
It's time to lord it over everybody again for only the third time this World Cup. But we won't think about how little I've been successful. Only when I've been successful.
It was a good bet. I think I went for both teams to score and Argentina to win. So, look, it was great for Argentina. Messi just got a world-class goal. It was.
Is it the best, do you think, at the tournament?
Yes, for me, yes, because his first touch. And then his second touch. I mean, most players would let that ball bounce. But for him just to go boom, boom, and the finish with his weaker foot, his right foot, I thought it was class. I thought it was absolutely world class. He was very unlucky with his free kick. And he made a tackle in the second half, having lost the ball. And to me, that showed you exactly how much this means to Messi. He ran right across. It was like a Roy Keane tackle. It was a 50-50 right in the corner. He won it. And I think it's great for the tournament that Messi's still there. And I have a funny feeling Argentina, they'll put it up to France.
Yeah,
they will really put it up to France.
I was just thinking, there's no Italy at this World Cup, so we need a team to show the characteristics of an Italian team. Maybe that's what Argentina are doing. Just maybe do the bare minimum to get out of the group and just get yourself to a final. And they go, you're scratching your head going, how have they done it?
Yeah, it happens so often, doesn't it? It could happen with Germany. They're in action, obviously, in one of the two concurrent 3 o'clock games this afternoon. Mexico against Sweden and South Korea against Germany, the 2 matches there. South Korea, Leon, 16-1. We do have John Duggan still on the line, by the way. We'll get his take in just a moment. But this is the biggest single game odds I've seen all tournament.
Yeah, look, they're massive outsiders. I think their coach is ruining their team. He's playing players out of position. They were a little bit better in the second game against Mexico. They actually had more attempts on goal than the Mexicans, but they still got beaten. They got a great late goal, but it wasn't enough. And I think Germany, if ever there's a goal to galvanise a whole country and a whole squad, it was the goal by Toni Kroos. They need to win, Germany, and I think they will win. I think Marco Reus coming in for the second game was a big plus. He adds a bit of athleticism, he adds pace, he adds a bit more creativity. I think Goza will be left on the bench. I'm not just putting it all down to him for their lacklustre first performance against Mexico, but he seems to be the fall guy. But I think Royce at 9-2 to score first. He got the equaliser, of course, against Sweden, and it'll be a huge shock. A German side has not left the first round since 1938. So if this was to happen, these German players would never live it down. But I fully expect them to win, maybe by 2 or maybe even by 3 goals. I think Germany, the shackles will come off. Hummels should be back, obviously replacing the suspended Boateng. But I think Germany will have enough to see off South
Probably
Korea.
a good thing, by the way, that Jerome Boateng is out.
Yeah.
He's a player that has never really impressed me. I know he played for Manchester City, wasn't great. You see him for Bayern Munich. He's a decent player, but I think maybe it's a good thing that he's not playing. And do you know what? I wonder will Ozil come back in?
But how would you bring him back in after they beat Sweden? Now, I know Sweden were quite negative when it was 1-1 and Germany were down to 10.
That's when you need Ozil.
Yeah, but how could you bring him back in now? Like, would you disappoint another member of the squad and say, we just left him out and now we're going to bring him back in? I don't know. I don't know.
It was a big call because he never leaves him out. It was the first time he was ever left out for a game in a major tournament. I know Rudy started, but there's talk that he's not going to play today. So that's why I'm wondering, would he bring him in? Because Khedira, I wasn't surprised when I saw Khedira being overrun against Mexico. He's another one of those players that he just happened to get into that Germany team. And
everybody thought he was class.
Yeah, but he's fairly ordinary.
Yeah, it's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned the South Korean manager, actually, because looking at some of his quotes, they're absolutely bizarre. Shin Tae-yong is his name, and I'm not sure if you recall, but during the Sweden match, he complained that Sweden were too tall, and that's why South Korea ended up losing that game. No, even if we have improved the teamwork, I don't think it will be easy. We have a 1% chance, a very slim hope. 16-1 on BoyleSports if you somehow fancy South Korea, but I'm not painting a good picture there. John Duggan, just to go to you on this one, what do you think of Germany going forward at the moment? Because they've shown a bit of impetus in attack. They've shown some sort of positivity against Sweden. Nothing major, that being said, but like Joachim Löw has said, he's had a sit down with Thomas Müller and they've tried to trash things out to try and figure out what's going wrong with him. But one conversation probably won't fix everything in that attack going forward, will it?
Toni Kroos' goal can fix a lot of things. I think that was, for me, the moment of the tournament, and that, for me, still is the goal of the tournament. In terms of technique, Messi's was probably a better goal, but in terms of meaning, Toni Kroos' goal was everything for Germany, and I think that it'll take a huge amount of pressure off them. I think they'll win comfortably today. I wonder, will Gundogan play? Because I think Rudy is out. And Gundogan, who's had a bit of a controversial relationship recently with the German fans. He was booed in the friendly against Saudi Arabia because of his, the nice things he said about the Turkish President Erdogan, who isn't very popular in Germany right now. And I think that going forward, I mean, I liked when Julian Brandt came on. I thought he was really good in the last 10 to 15 minutes against Sweden. I'd love to see, and I don't know if he's going to play today, but an anytime scorer odds on Julian Brandt, Leon. But look, Timo Werner is not at it, but Marco Reus is, and he's a player that I think is underrated. He's had so many injuries, and I ultimately think that Germany have. I think the issue is really is teams breaking up pace against them, and I think Philip is absolutely correct. And that Khedira is an ordinary enough player, and they need to sort out that kind of transitional phase between defence and attack, and they just need a bit more. I don't know if Mario Gomez will play today again, but Werner has not impressed me really in the first two games, and they're the kind of the two areas that they need to look at. But I think that they've enough players. I think in the squad. It's such they played so many players in qualifying. I think they've enough players in the squad, like Goretzka, for example, to come in. Kimmich played better the last time, and I think they win comfortably today. And I think that I think they're very dangerous.
Yeah, of course, Germany should probably win that game. It will help Mexico create a little slice of history, but not history in a good way. They could potentially become the first team to win their opening two games and not make it to the round of 16 in the modern format of the tournament. There is a live possibility that Sweden do beat them by the required amount and Germany win for this thing to happen.
Yeah, look, I mean, Sweden, I'm sure they're still absolutely gutted that they don't have 4 points, and this could have been a replica of France against Denmark. We could have seen the second 0-0 draw here because a point would have taken both sides through if Sweden had held on against Germany. As I mentioned when we were talking about Germany, I thought Sweden were very negative against Germany when it was 1-1 and Germany were down to 10 men. Why not go for it? Why not try and get 6 points and put yourself in a commanding position? They didn't. And Sweden, as we know, they're quite a negative team. They set up defensively. They don't set up offensively to try and go at sides, and they're going to need to do something against Mexico. However, I've been hugely impressed with Mexico. I think Herrera in front of the back four, he does all the donkey work, and he allows the likes of Hernandez and Vela and Lozano to open up defences. And Mexico at 13-10, I think they're a worthy favourite. Sweden are 9-4, and the draw here is 23-10. I don't know whether Mexico will be all out to get the full
they only need
points.
A draw.
They only need a draw.
It suits them to play in the counter-attack.
Yes.
So it's probably not a bad thing that they do need a draw just to be safe. That he does like to make changes, but he's not going to change it up too much, and they've so much pace in the break. Sweden, they can sit back and say to Sweden, you come at us, and Sweden don't want to do that, but they're going to have to at some stage.
Yeah, I think Sweden will try and keep it low scoring for the first half, and then you might see Sweden in the last 25-30 minutes having a go, and that could be perfect for Mexico to hit them on the counter-attack. But I still think, looking at the prices, the draw maybe at 23-10 is the best value.
I'm going to have a pop at both teams to score and in a score draw at odds of 10-3 here, for the reasons that you outlined there, for Sweden to potentially go on the attack, Mexico to counter, and then Sweden to go gung-ho and get that equaliser, and ultimately it doesn't matter from a Mexico point of view. So we'll go for that one from this game. We will move on to the other group today, which is of course Brazil's group. It's a fascinating one, Leon, in the sense that 1, 2 and 3 could become 3-2-1 or 2-1-3, or in any combination of those top three teams, it can finish anyway.
It could finish anyway, and I think Serbia can count themselves a little bit unlucky not to have gained anything from the Switzerland game. They should have been given a penalty. It seemed to totally disrupt their whole focus. For the first three halves of this World Cup, excuse me, I was impressed with Serbia. In the second half against Switzerland, they seemed to lose their shape, lose their discipline. They gave away a very soft goal to Shaqiri in the last minute or so. But I have a feeling here, Serbia will be like the siege mentality. They'll be putting themselves in a group and saying, right, let's go and knock out Brazil. Let's go and show our country, show the world that we're a very, very decent side. They're 5-1 to win the game. Brazil are 7-4 on, and I can't have that. I just can't have Brazil at the moment. They were so lackluster against Costa Rica. They got a very late goal, and then Neymar added another one. Neymar should have been punished for a blatant dive. He got away with it. I think Serbia plus a goal at 11-8. I think it's a very, very reasonable price. I think this is going to be a cracking game because Serbia are going to put it right up to Brazil.
It'll be physical. 6 Serbian players on yellow cards. They don't mind the physical aspect. You think of Ivanovic down the right. If Neymar pulls out to the left, Ivanovic will give Neymar a bit of a kick. And the most fouled player in the World Cup, we heard Tim Vickery there talking about Neymar. You want to like this Brazil team, but how can you like Neymar? Honestly, like watching the game the other day when he scored and the tears, he told the referee not to touch him, he's swearing at Costa Rican players. It's all about him, and he obviously likes it, but I'm wondering, does he just put too much pressure on himself that it's going to end in tears because they don't win it? At the start of the tournament, there were so many people's pick, but I just don't know. And obviously the interesting thing with these two groups today is there's a very good chance we could get a Brazil-Germany knockout game, which we'd all love to see. But that's where you start wondering, do teams, and England are going to think the same when they play Belgium, would it be a good idea to finish as a runner-up, or will we go to try and top a group? There will, no player is going to admit to it, but surely it must come up in conversation in the squad at some stage.
John Duggan, you're going to watch Brazil tonight. What's your view on the Neymar situation? Phil was making a point earlier on that, you know, those tears at the end were tears almost of pressure.
Weird, lads, weird. Just weird. That's what I would describe it as. And it's all about him. There's a narcissism there. Do you know, guys, that Cristiano Ronaldo and Neymar were born on the same day?
And a different year, obviously.
Yeah, but they were born they shared the same birthday, which I thought was a very interesting thing about, because they both have traits of narcissism.
Neymar's worse, though.
Yeah, Neymar is worse. Yeah. But in terms of their footballing psyche. So I thought it was just weird, but you can't argue at 50. It was 56 goals in 87 games he scored for Brazil. He's only lost only once in a competitive match for Brazil. He drops too deep. He slows down the play. He just needs to. He's been too much indulged. Obviously, Coutinho has been great though. He's scored a couple of goals. He's probably been a bit overshadowed. You'd wonder if Neymar got injured, how Brazil would play, and how they would they be even freer. That is something that would interest me. I think they'll win. I think they had 22 shots in goal against Costa Rica, 10 of them on target, over 70% possession of the ball. They got there in the end. They were a bit ordinary in the first half, but they came through. And I just think the Spartak Stadium, guys, it's very compact. It's got a great atmosphere. I think the Brazilians will be there in huge force. I've seen a lot of them around Moscow in the last couple of weeks, probably waiting for this game. Some of them who won't have travelled to, say, Rostov for earlier matches. And I can see a huge 70-80% Brazil support base in the Spartak Stadium. I think that'll will them on significantly. He's going to pick this pretty much the same team as played against Costa Rica. Fagner is still in there. Douglas Costa is injured. He came on, but he won't be involved today. So that's what I can see. Milinkovic-Savic, of course, is the Serbian player that I'm most interested in. But it could be a draw. And then I wouldn't be surprised, lads, if I saw 2 draws today. And Brazil and Switzerland going through the way they are. Costa Rica won't be a pushover for Switzerland. Xhaka and Chachiri will play. They've been fined by FIFA, but they will not serve those bans for those Albanian Eagle celebrations that they engaged in after the Serbia, or during the Serbia game. So they will play down in Nizhny Novgorod, but I can see Brazil coming through today. And I'm just fascinated to have a Neymar watch and do a Neymar cam and see how he gets on and see if he engages in more weird behaviour.
Listen, John, enjoy the Spartak Stadium tonight. We'll chat to you on OTB AM tomorrow morning and World Cup Daily again tomorrow afternoon.
All right, lads. King Harry.
King Harry. Remember the king. Before we let you go, Leon, Neymar to score. This is actually, I like this because we all hate Neymar. But to balance things out, you could become a new customer to BoyleSports. You could have a pop on Neymar to score and Brazil to win at odds of 2-1. Actually, sorry, you could be an existing customer.
Existing customers, yeah. And it clicked yesterday. It was the same type of enhancement. Messi to score and Argentina to win went out to 2-1. We're doing the same for Brazil today. Neymar to score, and we've just heard his record for Brazil. You can't argue with that.
No.
And Brazil to win 2-1. So
he's going to become Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer. When you look at the stats here, like he scored 56 goals. Ronaldo has 62 and Pele has 77. Like at the age he is, he's going to become Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer eventually.
Disgusted.
It's it's sick. It's absolutely sick.
Yeah, it's you know what I mean. Look, yeah, his teammates, however, seem to be with him. They seem to be fully convinced by him, fully convinced that he's going to take their country to the latter stages of the tournament. I will just love to see their reactions should this result go pear-shaped.
Oh, we all would.
I just have a funny feeling with Serbia. I think just +1, that's what I'm thinking. I think John might be right. 3-1 for the draw does look quite big. But Serbia +1, 11-8. I'm going to give that a whirl. Yeah, go on to Serbs is what I say. Remember, there's a match bet of up to €50 as well if you log on to offtheball.com/BoyleSports and set up a new account. You can get that Neymar offer as well on offtheball.com/BoyleSports. Leon Blanche, thank you very much. We'll chat to you tomorrow. Yep. Before we go, we're going to be chatting to Raf Giallo about the permutations for today because there's fairly complicated stuff. There is a possibility of lots once again for today. Hopefully we'll get it. To take us there, here is Raphael Honigstein. He was on the line to Joe Malloy last night and he gave us an insight into the German feeling on Toni Kroos.
About outside opinion, right. And at times I felt as if he was playing his own game and perhaps shouldn't even be a team player. But he's reached a level where he's become so good that people no longer mind because he can lift them to his level to a certain extent. What he did, I think, against Sweden was remarkable for a number of reasons. One, as you said, not just going through his mind, but certainly his teammates. Mats Hummels on the sideline screaming, please cross it, cross it, cross it. Okay. And of course he doesn't. Thinking, as he said later, all those crosses against those big Swedish guys have done absolutely nothing for us. I'm going to have to try something different. And also the alertness of mind to say to Royce, you know what, if we just move the ball 1.5 meters further into the playing area, I get a bit of better angle. Yeah. And the angle is still so acute and he has so little to aim at, and it is just a perfect execution. And the goal, I think, that will never, well, certainly not in Germany, will ever tire seeing. I think they feel differently in Sweden, though. Yeah, no doubt. So, look, I guess final point then, you're looking for more...
They're a little bit too much Joe Malloy on the end of that Raphael Honigstein clip. Him talking about Toni Kroos there on the show last night. You can watch the full interview on youtube.com/offtheball. It's time for Abacus Corner with Raf Giallo. Still no physical abacus.
No, I was looking at prices for abacuses online and I think Abacai, okay, fair enough.
Not really.
They're about €3 in some places, and then some of them you can get Chinese or Japanese versions of them which are up to €11, which may be inflation, but I'm not sure.
Well,
the budget does not even stretch to that either way.
You would need an abacus to actually figure out how big a dent that would make on the accounts to buy that actual abacus. So there's a bit of inception on the accounts. We're looking at Group E and Group F. They are the two groups down for decision tonight. We'll start with Group E, naturally.
We were talking about drawing of lots, and I've actually been bringing it up all the time now. So obviously I told you on Monday that it happened in 1990, involved Ireland and Netherlands. Sepp Blatter was the man, and I think we have a picture of him. The pictorial evidence in Rome. That's how we got Romania, and the Dutch and Germany came together, and there was a spitting incident in that game, so that was lovely.
Wow, okay, that's a great image.
So if it wasn't for Sepp Blatter, we wouldn't have got the...
We've a lot to thank him for.
Rudy Fuller and Frank Rijkaard incident.
Yeah.
He's not that bad after all.
He is. He's a great man. Great, generous man. He's just a giver. He's not a taker. That's all Sepp Blatter is.
Let's see, get to something else, will we?
What's the situation tonight? How can we possibly get lots? We can get lots drawn in both groups, right?
In E, basically, like the easy thing anyway, I think we've all said Brazil are probably going to go through, I'm sure, winning more than likely against Serbia. But if Brazil and Switzerland win or draw, they go through. If both of them win, then Switzerland can actually go top, but they would need to score one extra goal, and we can see the table there. So what do you think in terms of, what's your expectation?
Well, I think Brazil are going to win. I think Switzerland are going to win. I think they'll both be on 7 points. And you look at this then when it comes to the how close they are in goal difference. I think Brazil are not necessarily guaranteed to beat Costa Rica by more than Switzerland are. I think Switzerland are going to do the old 1-0 job on Costa Rica tonight. So they'll be 4-2 and 7.
You don't think Costa Rica will score?
No.
They're the only team that haven't scored in the World Cup yet.
Well,
I'd be cheering them on to score at least one goal.
That supports my theory.
But Switzerland are that kind of team where they can grind out wins, but they're not going to hammer a team. Like 2-0 for Switzerland would be a hammering. You know, that they'd never really put too many goals past people, but I would imagine they'll beat Costa Rica.
So they would be up to 4 goals scored, 2 conceded. Brazil would need to then, well, Brazil that would actually rule out the possibility of drawing lots at that point, because Brazil can't get to a 4-2 without
the
drawing
lots
the
would
game.
come in if Brazil and Switzerland were to lose.
Okay,
That's
right.
the situation, yeah. So Switzerland can still lose and go through if Brazil lose, but Brazil would have to lose by 1 more goal, and that could eventually go to lots then. So it would come down to goal difference, then goal scored. The yellow card situation at the moment, Switzerland have 4, Brazil have 3. So
okay, so we need those to be level before we get to drawing of lots.
That has to add up, yeah.
Well, that's a shame. What way do you see this going?
I think Brazil will win, and I think Switzerland will draw at least.
Okay, fair enough. So it basically Brazil and Switzerland, as you were basically with Group E. How are their paths for the finals? Like what? So Brazil notoriously negotiating the German side of the draw.
Yeah, they'll get Germany more than likely. We'll get to them in a bit. Then maybe England or Belgium, depending on who tops that group. And then a semi against one of France, Portugal, Uruguay, or Argentina. So it could be. It's the toughest side, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. They have the toughest draw after Group E. Like, Group E was relatively favourable, as in there's no other massive hitter in there, despite the fact that Switzerland are ranked 6th in the world. But after that, it's a nightmare side of the draw, as is Group F.
Yeah.
Once you would suspect Germany get out of this.
All 4 sides in play as well, which is the main thing.
Yes, good point, actually. Obviously, Korea with a very, very minute chance. But yeah, this is probably... Is this the only group where everybody's involved going into the last game?
Yes, because Group H, Poland are out of it, and obviously Group G is sorted.
Yeah, it's like by virtue of...
Last night's group would have had that as well, the Argentina-Nigeria group. Iceland were in it, Croatia.
Oh, yeah,
everyone was,
yeah. But like we were discussing with Leon there earlier on, Mexico, potentially the only team to start off with 6 points and not
can
make
still
the
miss
last
out,
16, so
if Sweden beat them 1-0 and Germany win 1-0, then they're out.
They're done.
Yeah, it'll come down to goals scored and matches between those teams. Mexico would have 1, Sweden 2, Germany 2.
Right, okay. That would be grim from a Mexican point of view. I mean, I think
I would be gutted.
Yeah,
I'd be gutted.
so would everybody.
Yeah, because they're probably arguably one of the best teams. Yeah, maybe top 3.
The thing is, I can kind of see this happening. I can't see them being beaten to 0. Do they have to get beaten to 0 for them not to qualify?
Yeah, because then it would start to come down to goals scored.
Okay. Well, forget that, I think, to be quite honest with you. I think Mexico are going to score tonight. I think they're too good going forward. I think they've got...
I hope they go through.
Yeah, like, I hate all...
No offence to Sweden, but...
Same. I hate all the crap around, like, the kind of air around teams and the confidence that teams play with and the tradition and all that sort of stuff. But with Mexico, it seems it's kind of like England, but less bullshitty. As in, they seem like a really happy camp, but it actually matters. And I'm getting a look from Kieran Bradley, our producer, who is English, saying that it is clearly not bullshit, the fact that England are so happy all the time and how it plays into how they play on the pitch. With Mexico, it matters. They look around and they're like, that guy's one of my best friends. I'm going to pass the ball to him and I'm going to enjoy the feeling of playing football with my best friends.
Yeah, Javier Hernandez threw a party. Obviously, we don't know what happened at the party, but it's brought them closer together.
And it was better than Jamie Vardy's party.
Yeah, and the England players played darts together. I don't think Javier Hernandez and the Mexicans play darts.
No, and
they don't seem the type anyway.
They don't feel the need to play darts. They don't feel the need to play pool with Daniel Taylor of The Guardian. They don't feel that they need to have Henry Winter periscope a banterful game of darts in Repino or somewhere like that. It's less artificial, it's real, it's pure, and I love it. And Mexico are going through.
Yeah, more than likely, and they can only really miss out in the worst case scenario, I think. And then South Korea, of course, as I said, are still part of this if they win, but they would need the goal difference swing to completely change in their favour. They're -2 at the moment. Germany and Sweden are 0 at the moment. So
the Mexico path to the final is interesting here.
Yeah.
They come in to play with Spain and Croatia, I see.
In the semis, yes.
Okay.
If they get that far. And then the second place between Belgium and England, the quarters, and then Switzerland in the last 16.
Right, okay, that's why I didn't realise that they could be drawn on that side of the draw with Spain and Croatia. You learn something new every day.
They've an awful habit, though, of getting knocked out in the last 16, Mexico.
They do. Remember the wonder goal from Argentina in 2010?
Last 6
times, going all the way back, I think 94 or 1994, yeah. So it's a curse. Kind of like a Mayo curse or something.
That's part of the record. I'm not sure, are we all in agreement here? Brazil and Switzerland's in that order in Group E, and Mexico and Germany in that order in Group F?
Yeah, and then Germany's path, Brazil in the next round, obviously. So that's going to be a cracking.
Brilliant. Just to bring up the 7-1 again, wondering would Brazil still be haunted by it?
Well, the big permutation that's come out over the last 24 hours is Portugal and Argentina winning at the weekend, isn't it? Because you got Messi against Ronaldo in the quarterfinals if that happens.
It probably won't though. I think Uruguay. I don't know what you think.
Do you know what we need? We need another Messi against Ronaldo debate.
No, we've never had one before. We need to save that for some other time. We need to have one super Messi Ronaldo debate. It's weird how the backlash against Messi Ronaldo debates has kind of reached a new level in this World Cup, when in actual fact it's a perfect time to have it. It's the last time we'll have it. Embrace debate is what I say.
It's just never going to go away. Even when Messi scored last night, I bet you there was people thinking Ronaldo wouldn't have scored that.
Yeah, and he wouldn't. Would he, Phil?
I don't know. He doesn't play for Argentina, does he?
Let's
celebrate both of them.
Let's do a Messi versus Ronaldo World Cup Daily special next week when inevitably the quarterfinals are lined up and when inevitably Portugal versus Argentina is up in the 2018 quarterfinals. Raf and Phil, thank you very much. We're back on air from 12:30 again tomorrow afternoon on News Talk from 7 o'clock this evening is Off the Ball on the radio. You can catch up on social channels on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, and OTB AM is where you'll catch us next as well at 7:45 AM tomorrow morning. We'll chat to you later. Bye bye for now.